Hooty hoo, all my stock market gamblers. Welcome today. I'm Tall Mike. So glad you're here. What do we got going on? Well, the markets have kind of sold off, right? But there's really not a lot of damage done yet. The S&P sitting basically right on the 200-day. NASDAQ maybe just a touch below the 200-day, but there's a lot of support there. I am expecting us to bounce off of this level, right? And get a run back up. We'll see if we can make a new high in the S&P. The NASDAQ, I would be surprised if we make a new high. The IWM, which is the Russell, which is the small caps, definitely not going to make a new high. Already in the bear market. Now, here's the thing. You see, they always come back and adjust things after. Now, the bear market started in November for the small cap stocks. The IWM had made its high in November, and it's been coming down ever since, down over 20% already in the bear market. You see, they don't tell you a lot of things. Now, right now, the Atlanta Fed, they came out and they've said, look, at first quarter GDP, according to their estimate, is going to be down 2.8%. So basically 3% drop in the GDP in the first quarter. And I believe they will revise the fourth quarter and they will have a decline in that one, which will mean the recession started back October, November timeframe. Now, of course, Donald's going to get blamed for this recession because he's the president now when the recession really started all the way back in October and November. And this will come out and play over time. But they don't tell you the truth, right? You see, there's no soft landing. A lot of people are talking about the soft landing, the no landing. Look, after you blow the bubbles as big as they've blown them, the stock market bubble, the credit bubble, the housing bubble, there's no soft landing. This is going to be crash landing at best. The crash landing probably be your best take. Now, layoffs are starting to happen. They're starting to happen right now, right? Southwest laying off 15% of the workforce. Chevron, remember, drill baby drill, laying off 20% of the workforce. Apparently those 20% don't know how to go out and drill. Meta laying off 5% of their workforce. Look at the government. What percent of their workforce is getting laid off? I'm not completely sure because they're just using a hatchet to chop them, right? Okay, now store closings. This is retail stores. 10,000 stores closed in 2024. Estimated for 2025, 15,000 more stores. Now, that's a lot of jobs. A lot of people working those retail jobs. Well, those jobs are going away. So you're going to have the job layoffs, right? Which is going to cause a problem in the housing market. You don't have a job. You can't pay your 2.8% mortgage. And a lot of people are already giving up their 2.8%. They can't hold on, right? They can't hold on. Why? Because inflation keeps going up, right? It's taking away their spending money. They don't have enough money left over for their mortgage. Their property taxes have doubled. Their insurance has doubled. The maintenance on the house has gone up. But everything that they buy, the food, the gas, everything, clothes, everything's gone up. They have no extra money to pay the mortgage. So they still have a little equity left in that house, dumping it onto the marketplace, even with their 2.8% mortgage. So the 2.8% mortgage is great if you can pay it. If you can't pay it, it's going to become a forced sale. Okay, now the problem we talk about here is that inflation, right? The inflation. Now, why do we have this inflation? Well, because we printed so much money, right? I mean, we've had basically 16 years since 2008, we've been doing stimulus, right? Stimulus, call it QE, call it stimulus checks, call it quantitative easing, whatever you want to call it. But it's the same thing. It's the printing of money, and they're handing that out, right? They hand it out to somebody, usually to the rich people, but sometimes they send you and me a check in the mail, a stimulus check. But you see, they should only do stimulus during a short-term crisis. Now, obviously, we've been in a crisis for 16 years. 16 years they've been doing this stimulus, right? 30 trillion extra dollars have been flooded into the economy. It's the printing of money. Now, what's it doing, though? It's caused that inflation. Shot it up to 9%, brought it back down to 3%, never got down to their 2% target, hasn't been down to 2% for over 4 years. 4 years we've been above their target. So what do? They starting to cut rates when they should be raising them, should be fighting inflation, but all they can do is wave the white flag. Wave that white flag because because they lost the war. Inflation is taking off again. Going to pass that 9% number even on their own statistics. My statistics were already past 9%, but their statistics were still below 9%. But even in their statistics, we're up over 6%. We're headed higher, headed higher, headed higher. Now, this is interesting. Right now, it's tax season, right? And this is getting to me a little bit, so we're going to talk a little bit about taxing. People think, well, I just get, a refund from paying in my taxes, what they deducted from my paycheck. And some of you, that will be the case. Those refunds are getting smaller and smaller this year. But that's not the only tax I'm talking about. You see, they're taxing everything, right? And we just instated tariffs. What are tariffs? Tariffs are basically a tax. Now, the Donald's going to tell you that the other countries are going to pay the tax for you. I don't think so. So just figure 25% tax being added onto the tariffs, right? So you got the federal tax, you got state taxes, you got local taxes, you got property taxes, you got sales taxes, you got... This one really gets to me also. You got the inflation tax, right? Now, a lot of people don't talk about it because they don't understand that inflation is just confiscating your money. It's a wealth transfer, if you will. Now, I want to explain this in clear, very simple terms, right? You're transferring the wealth from the poor and the middle class, which is the many, the majority of the population, to the wealthy, the rich people, the top 5 and 10%ers, right? They're the ones that have these assets. They have the assets in real estate, stocks, gold. They are holding on to the assets. And what happens with inflation? Makes those assets stay up or go higher, right? So they're taking the money, your money, my money, from the poor and the middle class, and we're transferring that wealth to the rich people, and we're doing it through this thing they call inflation, right? Okay, so you're getting poorer, you're working harder, you can't figure out why you can't pay your bills because they're confiscating your money and giving it to Mr. Elon Musk, Mr. Warren Buffett, Mr. Jeff Bezos, Mr. Mark Zuckerberg. Their billions and billions are increasing like we've never seen in the history of the world before, right? Because it's inflation. The money flows somewhere. You print $30 trillion. It doesn't flow downstream. It flows upstream, flows to the rich people, flows to the wealthy people, flows to the top 1, 2, 3%ers. All of us down here in the middle class and the poor, we're getting hosed, and we're getting hosed in a big way right now. This inflation has got to stop. You see, here's what happened. Here's what happened. It's just outright theft by the government, number one. But the government loves this. Now, why do they love this? Well, they're the biggest beneficiary of it because they had $37 trillion in debt, not to take into account the other $120 trillion unfunded. So they got $150 trillion in debt that they can pay back with cheaper dollars when we inflate, when we inflate, when we inflate. How does it affect you? All right, let's say you're making $100,000, right? You're making $100,000, doing pretty well, but inflation hits, it's at 10, 20% over 5 years. All right, so now your bills have doubled, right? They've doubled, but your income has gone from 100,000. Maybe you went up 10%, maybe you went up 20%, but everything else has doubled. So your income went from 100,000 to 120,000. Well, what does that do? That puts you in a higher tax bracket so they can steal more of your money. The inflation works great for the government. That's why the government is never going to let inflation go to zero. They will print money until there's no trees left. And now I know we don't use trees anymore. It's just a click of a button, right? Click of a button, you can hand out trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars. You see, now there is one good thing here. The top 10%, the top 10%ers, right? The most wealthy people in the world. Okay, now they're responsible for 50% of the consumption. 10%, they're buying 50% of everything, all goods and services, right? Top 10% buying 50%. Now, is that normal? No, that's not normal. It usually runs around 30%. But we have gotten more and more extreme between the haves and the have-nots, between the rich and the poor. It's more extreme than it was back in the Great Depression, more extreme than ever recorded in history. The wealthy people are the only ones left with money. You and me, we kind of run out of money, right? We got a lot of bills to pay, and those keep going up. But the wealthy people, they got so much money, they don't know what to do with it, right? Because it's a wealth transfer from the many to the few. This inflation stuff has got to stop. They've got to stop printing money. But Mike, the Doge boys are going to come in and solve this. They're in there slashing all this spending of money. If they're slashing all the spending of money, why are they trying to pass a bill for an extra $4 trillion added onto the debt ceiling before they shut down the government? This is coming up March 14th, right? If this bill doesn't pass, they're going to shut down the government. So they're going to get another $4 trillion that they can spend, right? Legally spend it because they increase the debt ceiling. Now, here's the thing. Here's what's got to happen, and it's got to happen now. Forget about the Doge boys, right? They're just picking the winners and losers. Don't get me wrong. I'm glad that they're pointing out all the issues, but it's not their job. It's the job of Congress. Congress, if you can't balance the budget, you got to go. We don't want to see you anymore. We can get somebody in there that can do the job because you cannot do the job. You should not be printing one more dollar. We should not be allowed to spend one more dollar, and then you could just get rid of those Doge boys. You wouldn't need it because Congress has then done its job, but that's never going to happen, is it? No, because everybody wants to spend. Everybody wants the free lunch. They want to hand it out, right? They want to be the hero. It's not working. I'm telling you, what it is wealth transfer, a wealth confiscation. They're confiscating your money. They're confiscating my money. How do you protect yourself? I recommend real money, gold and silver. Look, maybe we'll never go back to that as a country, but you can go on the gold standard yourself. When you work, you get paid. You had extra money you have. You go down to the local coin shop. You buy some coins, right? Maybe you buy some silver eagles, maybe some gold eagles, some gold buffaloes. I always recommend the coin of the realm. What is the coin of the realm? The coin of the realm is the coins that are minted in your country. Why do I recommend those? Because they're recognizable. I can go anywhere and people will recognize a junk silver, a quarter, right, from before 1964 or earlier, right? They recognize, they can look at it and see it's pure silver. That's good. Get the coin of the realm. Silver eagles, gold eagles, those are printed by the U.S. Mint. Those are recognizable. Yes, you have to pay a little bit higher premium. But when you sell them, you get a little bit higher premium also. But when things go bad, and they're going to go bad, people are going to recognize those coins. Those coins, that's going to become what real money is. This fake money, I don't know. They're printing too much of it. My opinion is it's going to go away completely. Look at the dollar since 1913's already lost 99% of its purchasing power. And that's not me telling you that. That's the U.S. government, their own statistics. They know that the Federal Reserve has wiped out 99% of your purchasing power. Should we keep the Federal Reserve? My opinion is no. No, we should not. They've stolen in a wealth transfer 99% of our money, right? We work hard for our money. We don't want that wealth stolen. 100 years before the Federal Reserve, your purchasing power went up by 50%, not down by 99%. Believe me, they're going to wipe out this last 1%, and they're going to do it fast. I say they'll get rid of it within 3 years. Yes, there's going to be a reset. Maybe it's a central bank digital currency. A lot of people saying, but Mike, we're going to have a crypto reserve. We can get that fart coin going. We can get the Trump coin going. We can get that Doge coin going as we get rid of those Doge boys. That's going to solve all the problems. Don't forget the big granddaddy, Bitcoin. Look at Bitcoin might have been the first one, the granddaddy of it all, but I don't think it's going to be the survivor. Some are going to survive. Don't get me wrong. There's going to be some survivors. Maybe Bitcoin's one of them. Let's hope. I don't want it to go away. It's my favorite thing to trade. I love Bitcoin. It is exciting, right? Down 10,000, up 10,000. You can buy options on it. You can get double levered ETFs. It's fabulous, right? I mean, MicroStrategies, that's a double right there. He's double, and then you can get a double on the double, so you're 4X in it, right? So Bitcoin, very exciting. I love it, right? Up and down, both directions. Mark my words, it will probably go up higher, about 120,000, I'd say, and that's probably a good time looking to watch it come back down to 60,000. That's just my take. I'm Tall Mike. You like this stuff? Give me the thumbs up, but punch that subscribe button and get out there, everybody. Enjoy the weekend. We made it. Bye-bye now.